Functions become much more useful when we can pass data into them.
This video is brought to you by ObbyPie's Academy.
So let's go ahead and do an example where we have a function that has a parameter. So we'll define our function as greetPerson, and we'll have a value passed in called name. And let's put our colon here, and let's use a definition string. So this function greets the user by name. And what we're going to do is we're going to use name and assume that's passed into the function to create our greeting. So we're simply going to say print greetings name. Now, name is a variable in this case. And what happens is when the function is called, the value gets passed into it and assigned to name, and that's used as the variable. So if we said here, greetPerson Bob, like that, that's going to pass Bob into the greetPerson function. The string Bob is going to be assigned to the variable name, and then we're going to print greetings Bob. Let's give it a try. This is kind of a simple example. So we're going to save this guy, and I'll call this parameter.py. And now let's run it. Bring up our terminal here, get a new terminal window. Move into our Python scripts folder, which is on the desktop. Oops, I just called that function instead of CD desktop Python. There we go. And now we're going to use the Python command, and we call that parameter.py. And there we get greetings Bob. We could even expand on this. For example, we could have the user enter a value for person name. And we'll use raw input. If you're using Python 3.0 or beyond, just use input. What is your name? And then instead, we'll send the value in person name to the greetPerson function. So now this will work a little differently. So let's go ahead and make sure we save. I used Command S to save there. What is your name, Mark? Greetings, Mark. What is your name, Joan? Greetings, Joan. So here, when the program runs, it remembers the greetPerson function, doesn't run it yet, and then with raw input, we ask, what is your name? The value entered is assigned to person name, and then we call greetPerson and pass person name, which is whatever the user has entered, to the greetPerson function. There, that value, that string, is assigned to name, and we get greetings name. So greetings Mark, or whatever is entered. Now, sometimes you can have multiple values in a function. So we could say, for example, def add these a, b. So now we're going to define this as adds two numbers together. And we could say c equals a plus b and print c, just like that. So now we could use, for example, add these as our function call, 234 and 17. So what's going to happen is 234 and 17 are going to be passed to the add these function, 234 assigned to A, 17 assigned to B. They're going to be added together, A plus B, and then assigned to C, and we print the value C. Let's see how well this works. So we'll save. And let's run our function again. Uh-oh, I forgot the colon right there. I make that mistake a lot because most other languages don't require it. Here we go. What is your name? Mark. Greetings, Mark, 251. So we pass these values up to add these, A and B. Now, we could pass values that are, for example, floating point numbers too. We could say 23.4 and 17.555, and it'll work just as well. I saved it with Command S. We'll run it, and then we get 40.955. So these functions are somewhat flexible in that they can work on different data types fairly well. So there we've got a function where we're passing a value to the function. So here we passed a string value, person name, and here we passed two floating point values, 23.4 and 17.555, to the function itself, and then the function call, we ran the function. Now, it is also possible to pass other types of objects to a function. So, for example, let's say we had a list of names, and we'll go over lists more in the next chapter, but let's say we have a family list, and that includes the following values. So family equals Mark, Brett, Carrie, Joan, Rick, Rose. So these are the names of some people in my family, and that's all being stored in the variable family. We could pass that to an appropriate function, which could do something with it. So for example, let's say we have print first, and that gets as an argument my list. So now we could simply say print my list 0, which prints the first member of the list, and that's the function. Then we can say print first and pass it family like that. So you may not totally understand what I'm doing here because we haven't gone over lists yet, but the point is we can pass something other than a number or a string, but the point is we can pass something to a list, in this case an object, that isn't a single floating point number, integer, or string. All right, so let's see how this works. So let's clear and let's run it again. Oops, let's make sure we save. See that asterisk right there? Perfect. All right, name is Mark. So there we get greetings Mark, 40.955, and Mark. So it passed in this family list right here. We sent in family. That became my list. And from that list, we printed the 0th element, which is Mark, or the element that's here first. All right, so now we've seen how we can take a function and pass values into the function for processing.